Okay, let us start. Does somebody want to give a quick recap of what they remember in the last session?
Skill challenge.
The greatest, probably my least enjoyable from my point of view in terms of how fun the session was of anything I've ever run before. So I will personally apologize for that and probably never do a skill challenge again unless I run it myself.
I think you did fine, man. Like it, there were parts that were rough, but I thought it was good. So recap. We started it. We went down into the basement of the death house, found the cultists, and then basically had to get the fuck out towards the end. Once we finally got out, I'm not sure the details matter too much, but once we got out, I think somebody didn't make it. I can't remember who that was. They disappeared, and we thought they were. Is that?
That's a barbarian.
Yeah. So Vimrak effectively got swallowed up by the death house in the outer gates, if you will. And then after a period of time, as you guys were sort of coping / trying to come back to reality, trying to figure out what reality is, don't forget you see this ornate sort of dinner laid out for you across a coffin that has a small chest full of health potions for each of you, and then a handwritten note as well. As you guys are trying to take all this in, I think it was Royce that kind of notices to the left of the house, sort of in the alleyway, this sort of body is there, and Vimrak is alive, however, changed. So, anybody want to add anything besides that?
We got a letter thanking us for ridding vermin.
Yeah, the letter said, "Thank you for cleaning this vermin off my domain. Your efforts are appreciated, even if just for one night. Please accept the small gift to help your recovery. Welcome to Barovia." Signed, S.
Yes, what a lovely, lovely intro.
I know it's been a while, but I'm pretty sure I also picked up like 500,000 gold at one point.
Yeah, I don't remember.
You guys remember that, right?
I don't. I think
pretty sure I did.
Good.
Joke's on you. Once you have a couple +1 items, there's nothing to spend your freaking money on.
Did you was that regular gold, or was that the Barovian gold with Strahd's print on them?
Regular. It was actual or Waterdavian
half.
crowns. It was Waterdavian crowns.
Okay, it was half and half. Nice. God damn it.
So we have 250,000 Waterdavian crowns.
You have 250,000. All that money you found in the death house turns into dirt, and you're over encumbered. And you have 2 points of exhaustion, so fuck you. And
that's it. Perfect. I fucking quit.
I believe most of you did partake of the food. I don't remember if any of you took or used the health potions. So for those that, there's one for each of you. If you don't remember if you added it, check your inventories. If not, go ahead and add that there. And I will move us to the main map here, and let me know when you guys
are the compendiums there? Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, yeah, they are. Cool. So you guys just have vision of this party token here, right? The little knapsack.
Yeah, the tiny little area around it, like around 2 hex around it.
Okay, and you have some fog of war that you see to the right and top right, or no?
It's all fog of war, so we just have a tiny circle.
Fuck, where are the potions of healing? Oh, healing, that's what they're called, aren't they?
I have the potions in my... I have a potion in my inventory. Yeah, potion of healing.
Should have fog exploration on. Let me just do this.
I'll share my screen so you can check, chat.
Thank you. Just gonna go down.
I won't look while you do that, just in case it screws up.
I like how you're doing it with the mouse, or the keyboard.
It's, okay, cool. Now that looks different for you guys, right? Wait. Yes. Cool.
That's cool.
Okay.
I realized.
So, stop! That's what... Oh my god. Alright, someone's losing control of that token. So you guys started up here in this area as far as you can tell. You made your way down to the main road here, and you've been traveling through the main gate post that was posted here, the large statues that were decapitated. Long time they've been sitting
Is-
here, sort of the intro or entrance
There's a
to
tiny
the
bit of
realm.
black there.
Where?
Right where the ping was, the blue ping was. There's a little black triangle.
You can go check it out at a later time. And you guys don't see anything different. So the area that you're at, where this house was at, is effectively by itself, except for some smaller, like, structural buildings, if you will, that you think are just kind of owned by the house. So there's really no village or town here where you are. It's effectively just kind of perched along this road here. And so you guys are free to travel where you'd like. Just move that marker slowly, if you don't mind.
Still a little concerned about our blind friend that can somehow seem to see still.
That may be a concern, yes.
So, Mr. Vemrak, you want to tell us kind of what happened?
We were never supposed to be in that house. That was a mistake.
Yeah, I agree with that. But, what about your whole, face area?
In order to continue to live, I had to sacrifice part of me. Yeah.
So how
I don't
that-
know. I don't know what to make of it.
you can still see? Like, you can see me? Or are you completely blind?
He can sense you. He has, as far as you can tell, he has effectively vision out to a certain range, of which he's not had the time to necessarily test or confirm yet. But he can function comfortably within an area around him as if he can see. But he does not have eyes in the traditional sense at all. So there may be some other negatives and possibly some other positives that can come with that. Just to remind all of you as we get back into the setting here, you guys are tired. You've not slept well, at least. You did get a rest in the house itself, but everything was with a layer of uneasiness, and I will just emphasize, I won't say exhaustion, but you guys definitely would be in the position looking for someplace comfortable to lay down as soon as possible. So it is foggy, but the fog is receded enough so that you guys can see the immediate surrounding, not encroaching on the house in any way, shape, or form like it was. The food on the coffin is very nourishing overall, and tastes fresh and is concerning, but it's a concern that you'll deal with at this point, considering its effect on you in a positive way as you consume it. But go ahead and continue.
I'm going to reiterate that I am not tired, nor am I hungry.
I think we have two options. We could follow the road, and there's supposedly a city beyond or a town, or we could get off the road. I'm somewhat inclined to follow the road. We'll need
Yeah, I
to
feel
stop
like
somewhere.
At this point, we should be very careful about where we're going. And a dark forest surrounded by mist sounds like a bad place to get lost right now.
Vemrak, do you have any objection to following the road?
No.
Can he follow the road? Can he even see it?
Seems as good of a plan as any.
I'm just going to start slowly moving us along the road until Shatner tells us to stop, if that's cool.
Yep.
Oh no, the hex doesn't match the hexes.
Damn, fucking horrible.
Broken, quitting.
Fucking unplayable.
Go ahead and stop right there. So you guys continue down this road for, let's say, about an hour, 2 hours. Most of you are tired and no longer hungry if you partake, but others are not tired because they're fucking robots. However, the outskirts of a town start to show themselves, not through light or sound, but you can smell sort of civilization, if you will, sort of in the distance. And then as you get closer and closer, the fog starts to dissipate a bit in front of you, and you can see some sporadic lights throughout this village. It's mostly one-story buildings as far as you can tell as you continue to approach. There doesn't seem to be any kind of wall around the structure as a whole here. The initial buildings that you run into, the first couple of them they seem to be abandoned, or they're just very quiet if there is someone living in them. But yeah, overall, I'll move you guys up, and you do sort of enter. Let me see here.
I have a
Yep, go ahead.
I have a nerd question. Would we reasonably understand how big the hexes are, like from a distance or travel time perspective?
Yeah, let me see. I forget what this legend is. It's about a quarter of a mile per hex.
Oh shit. Okay.
For this map. Yeah, this is a large map.
A quarter of a mile? Because that would have taken us like 20 minutes.
I'm not saying, I mean like mostly from where you moved to when you get to the entirety of the city, as opposed to just that specific time frame overall. So you're right. We'll just retcon that.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. Let me see. Tall shapes loom out of the dense fog that surrounds everything. A muddy ground underfoot gives way to a slick, wet cobblestones that start to appear. The tall shapes and short outlines become recognizable as a village dwelling appears in front of you. The windows of most of these houses stare out from pools of blackness. No sound cuts through the silence except for the occasional sobbing from inside some homes that echoes through the streets from a distance as you get closer. So as you continue to enter this town, which I'm guessing all of you are okay with doing, you can go from a different direction, or you can stop here and make any adjustments if you want. If not, I'm just going to kind of have you guys walk in from the east here.
Tactical question, because it's been weeks. History. What are you?
I am a barbarian.
Okay, an observer.
I am a druid.
Okay, cool. Observer, you have Vigilant Blessing on you, which gives you advantage on initiative rolls.
Neato.
Sorry. Yeah, this seems like a chipper town.
And we're just hearing like moans of crying coming through each building.
Not each building. You kind of insert. So, assuming that you enter just a section of these initial buildings that you're walking through, you can hear some humanoid sort of sounds behind some of these doors. There seems to be some crying or some muffled maybe arguments, and then you'll find a couple homes that are completely silent. But in general, from somewhere deeper inside the town, you do hear the more distinct sort of crying of a woman echoing out through these kind of alleys that you're walking into. For the first couple of minutes that you're sort of going through this initial road, it does stop at times, and starts again from the same general direction.
So are we hearing the same woman crying as we pass multiple alleys?
No. Basically, some of these homes seem to be inherited or inhabited by people. None of them seem to be terribly happy. It's not always crying. It could be the hushed, muffled sounds of maybe a mother trying to grab the kids from the window as you guys are maybe seeing for a split second. It's hard to see inside because none of them seem to have any light in them. But there is a specific crying woman coming from a point further into the town itself. Sorry, I'm also getting back into being able to GM.
So in the grim darkness of Barovia, there is only sobbing, is the attitude we're going for here.
Effectively, a sobbing or what seems to be an abandoned home. But overall,
But the woman crying is distinctive, is what I'm trying to...
Yes,
Okay.
distinct in the way that it's echoing sort of through these alleys as a louder than normal occurrence or sound, if you will.
As we walk through this place, I tell the others I don't trust this place at all.
Gives you that feeling.
We've been through a lot this past day. I think before we try to unravel whatever mystery is in front of us, we should seek shelter.
Let me move you guys over.
So much white.
So let me get that party token again.
Ooh, do you want a DM pro tip?
Yes.
Make sure the background padding is set to black, because then we can't tell how big the map is.
I thought that was always done, and I don't
Not
know
in previous
why.
locations, but
I know. My background color says blue or white here. There we
There it
go.
goes.
It's
Yeah.
weird. It's set to white. I don't know why. I can because I have different textures over it.
No, it was blue. It just the white was the loading. But it's a thing that I've noticed lately. So let me share my knowledge.
Yes, thank you. Let me also learn how to give vision. Problem with that token for vision is that the initial token was on a very large map. This one is on a normal sized map. All right. That looks relatively normal.
I think Mike Schley drew these maps.
I'm not sure.
It's
But
Mike
these are
Schley.
correct.
It's Schley.
For sure. He's from the main book. So you guys enter. You've already at this point been kind of meandering through the outskirts of this town for a couple minutes at this point. And now you sort of enter what seems to be the most dense section of whatever area you're entering. The crying woman that was more distinct has seemed to have died down over the last couple minutes. And now there's just a pretty quiet, foggy in the distance town you've walked into. You've yet to see any light. However, as you are sort of getting encroached on by these buildings as you go into these more narrow streets, you do see some light directly west of you. And you do see what seems to be some fresh smoke coming out of a larger building. You can kind of see it's one of the few two-story taller buildings in the area.
Are there people? Or is
there are not people. You've not seen a single person. I will say that probably Observer has thought he caught a glimpse of someone in a window, but never got a confirmation of that. And I'll say that Vimrak as well, while seeing some flashbacks of the house he was in not long ago, also saw some sort of shadows move across some of the windows or doors in this area, but no one has seen an actual person yet.
Can I ask one more dumb rules lawyery question?
Yeah.
So I technically have dark vision to 300 feet. I don't know if that
Okay.
matters on our
300.
token.
Let me see.
It's very non-standard, so I'm just bringing it up in case it matters.
Really far. Holy shit.
Twilight Cleric. I didn't take Peace Cleric, so don't hate me too much.
God damn.
If it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter. Like if it...
No, go further. All. These buildings aren't walled, but that's fine.
Cool.
Awesome. So the only light you seem to see is still a good amount west from where you are through these buildings, but you guys are free to explore as you'd like. These buildings don't seem so run down that there's that they're all empty. As you do get closer to them, you do see some smoke coming out of others. but some of them look like they don't have front doors that work at all. So it's tough to say from one to the other if there's a confirmed person or people or thing inside of them.
So it's like I'm in Baltimore.
Again,
Yeah.
Again, I really think that we should seek shelter before we venture further in this town or draw the attention of anyone who shouldn't know that we're here. And I've personally been through quite a bit.
Should we head towards the light? If there's an inn, I'm assuming they would be advertising. I don't know.
Sure, let's head west.
As you guys continue through this town, you do catch a glimpse at this sort of intersection here to the north. You see a group of people that are sort of far off, maybe 4 or 5 hexes, maybe 2 or 3 humanoids that seem to notice you, and they're kind of staring back at you as well. But they're kind of tucked by a building. They look to be maybe young adult age. They kind of notice you, and then they just kind of seem to just keep walking up to the north. You also start to take note of some of the things that are on buildings and signposts in here. The streets don't seem to have names that have been upkept at all. There's none that are recognizable or readable as far as you can tell. But there are a couple pamphlets or flyers, if you will, that you see on a couple of the structures as you're entering the town, and now you're further in. It seems to it that... Go ahead.
So as those kids, it sounded like they were kids or youths or whatever, like as they see us, I'll shout out, "Hail, we're looking for an inn. Can you help us?"
Your voice echoes a bit more than you would expect. It kind of peeks off the buildings here and there, and the fog might be sort of keeping your voice down low, if you will, but then it dissipates as normal after that. The figures kind of look over. You can see them. They do take notice, and they just kind of point towards the west where you're going. Other than that, they don't seem to care too much.
Okay, thank you.
And then the sort of pamphlets, or let's just say signs, if you will, allude to some type of lottery that is coming up in the town. Most of them, like one that's closest to you on a larger building, let's say this one right here, has like a signpost outside of it, and it looks like there's a bulletin board type of structure there, and it has the newest lottery reminder, but a lot of the pamphlet or flyer has been ripped up and torn to shreds. You're only reading the older ones that were behind it. You can only assume they all kind of said the same things, just with different dates on them.
What does the lottery say that it's? Is there a grand prize, or is there? What can you win?
It's pretty vague overall. It just says, like, it's very formal in its writing. It says next mandatory lottery, and it seems to say a date that you would assume is kind of months back. But again, there's like staples or nails that show where there's been multiple other pamphlets in front of that one that you can read that have been pulled off. It's kind of a covered bulletin board, so it would kind of survive the rain and the fog a bit. But the one you're reading off of is pretty weather beaten overall. But that's all it seems to say. It's kind of implied that people that live in this area must know about what it is, and it doesn't seem very prizeworthy.
It said a mandatory.
Mandatory. Yep.
Mandatory.
Mandatory doesn't seem like a good lottery. That sounds more like conscription.
What time of day is it right now, or what time is it?
It's the middle of night. I would say it's very early morning. You assume sunrise probably wouldn't be around for another 5 hours or so. So maybe 1 or 2 in the morning.
Can I take a look at like any of the like we're just at the crest of town, correct? Like
Yep.
looking to the east. Okay. Can I look at any of these buildings that we're next to see if there's any that are abandoned and potentially suitable to sleep the night in?
They all look relatively similar. If you want to approach one, you can roll me a perception check, and I'll kind of see with intention if you maybe could pick out one that would be safer. Is that what you're saying, or maybe abandoned in general?
Yeah, maybe one that's more safer, one
Okay.
that we could kind of sleep.
Yep. Just roll a perception for that.
How do I enable that again?
It'll be if you click on your. You should always have access to the party on the top right, the actors, and then you can grab your character sheet from there if you click on yourself.
Okay, I see that. I'm going for perception. You said, right?
Yep.
Shatner, sometimes if I'm worried that I'm metagaming, I roll against my own character attributes.
That's fine. I appreciate it. Thank you.
That's why I sent you that roll.
You're good. So let's just point it out. Let's just say if you guys move back, this first sort of house, if you will, seems to be unoccupied overall, as far as you can tell, in terms of if there's like daily inhabitants to it. It looks sturdy enough to still be standing, but other than that, doesn't give too much away. If you had to guess, the house next to it was also abandoned, and then these two homes here as well. So kind of these four initial homes. They're all of different building quality and structure, but you'd guess that they'd all be abandoned.
Okay. Does anyone stand out from the other in terms of like having a front door and being solidified?
They're all about the same. You can take your pick of the four if you just want to try and go into one right now.
Okay. Can I explore this one I just pinked?
Sure.
So Vemrak, as you're approaching, I'll say, should we be careful about squatting or breaking any laws here that we don't know about?
Probably a good idea to be careful.
Given what we just went through, the law is the least of my concerns at the moment.
I don't want to get ourselves in an even worse situation.
I wonder if, let's investigate this, but maybe if we can stop at an actual inn, I think that might be safer than squatting in a house overnight.
I'd agree with that.
As you're kind of hearing this back and forth, would you be approaching this home while this is going on, or would you stop in the street and kind of have that conversation?
I'd imagine I'd be walking with him. Like, I'm not trying to strong arm at all. I'm just like, I think that like maybe we should be really careful after the last house we went into. Like, there's weird shit going on here, and I don't want to violate some weird supernatural or local law that I don't know about. And I'll explain that.
You can stop me, Vemrak, if you think it's out of character, but I'd assume that you kind of like go to the one that you just kind of pick one, and the one that you pin, you walk up to that. Most of these homes seem to be raised. Maybe the foundation of the rain keeps them from being soundly structured on the ground all the time. The death house was in a similar situation, and you kind of like stumble up a bit on the stairs as you're not used to this new sight that you have, or lack thereof. But as you kind of approach the door, you see that it doesn't seem to be locked in any kind of way. You're not trying to break in. If someone was inside, they wouldn't necessarily be calling out like, "Hey, go away!" But you approach the window, and one of them seems to be cracked. On the front side of this house as well, and through that crack, as you are kind of peering inside to get a better view, the strong stench of death kind of hits your nostrils, an all too familiar smell that you sort of got a little bit accustomed to, I would say, in the lower dungeony parts of the previous home that you were in.
Okay, so kind of having that would abruptly stop and kind of think for a second as to what was said from Toto, and just kind of look at him and give him a nod and follow him.
Shall we head back towards the west? And I have kind of like a grimace. Like, part of me doesn't want to go west, but part of me is like, I don't want to fuck with shit.
Let's go.
I'm just gonna slowly move us west as if we're walking, and I guess let us know if anything happens.
Yeah, not a problem.
Anybody else have a problem with that?
No, but just while we're walking, with my limited view, Shatner, if I could just keep an eye out for anything out of the ordinary or
Sure.
anything that's watching us potentially.
No problem. And I want to just confirm that I don't want you to assume that every one of those homes or every home around here has that same like stench. It's just that one you approached does. Others that you guys are now passing, they do seem to have like fires going on inside, but you don't see any light except for what is growing to the west here. As you guys do approach this other sort of T intersection here, from the very north curve or bend, you do hear what sounds like a cart or some type of wagon being drawn or pushed over these like uneven, pretty poorly designed cobblestone roads that are kind of meandering through this village. And for, I guess, Toto specifically, he has the furthest vision, unless I'm wrong. You can see what seems to be a sort of hunched over humanoid pushing what seems to be like a what's the word? Like a seller's cart or something they would maybe sell a product out of, or possibly they're doing some rounds at night collecting something. But the person's not looking towards you, and they don't seem to be. If they do hear you, preoccupied with that. They're kind of making their way to the left up that road.
And there's light to the west and northwest.
Just directly to your west, it's kind of breaking from. I'm just going to move you up one more. So this larger building here, there seems to be some light coming from that. So you see it sort of in this area here, but mostly in the street right here. It's kind of coming from the north.
So there's kind of like a square to the west of us and this cart pusher to the north.
Yes. Yep.
I gesture north and kind of look at everybody else with like a, should we go that way or no?
Sure.
So as we approach, again, I'll kind of call out in my least threatening voice, "Hello, do you have a moment?" to the person pushing the cart.
Yeah. So what turns around is a pretty old woman. She sort of takes a cloak off from over her head. She looks almost ancient as you're getting closer. For those that can see, she's pushing like a makeshift cart that seems to maybe have something that she's selling or that she's collecting in it. She doesn't immediately yell back. It almost seems like she doesn't want to yell, but she mouths something that you can't really make out as you guys get closer.
Can we see what's on the cart as we approach?
It's mostly covered. It's not like exposed. Imagine it as like a kind of a flat topped cart that has like a hatch on top that can be opened up and something can be taken out of. There seems to be like a sign that she's built with some wood that kind of comes up off of that flat top that's advertising something. And then as you do get closer, it looks like she's selling some type of like some type of food item, some type of either a what's the best word for it? Like a meat pie kind of thing.
So as we walk up, I'll say, "Hello, my name's Toto. We're looking for a place to stay. Is the plaza to the southwest the best place to go?"
She looks at you with concern, but not surprise. She goes, "Oh, it's very very late right now. There's unfortunately no inns in this town. We don't see many visitors. I'm afraid you'll most likely have to find your own room and board. As you've probably noticed, not every one of our buildings here is occupied, but I'm afraid I don't have much more info on where you could stay. But I'm just making my way back to my house now. I sell baked goods in town, and I've stayed out much too long tonight."
Well, thank you for letting us know. Are there any laws or customs about finding a place to stay in one of these houses?
She looks at you sort of quizzically. Um, in terms of, like, are you just trying to squat? Is that what you mean?
Well, we're not from here, and I don't want to anger anyone, but we would like to find a place outside of the rain and the fog to sleep for the night.
She looks at you like a smile comes over her face. She goes, "Oh yes, we're not used to visitors, but also not used to people that would care so much as to be concerned with that." She goes, "If you're looking for something hearty to eat, please find me in the morning or in another day. But in terms of squatting somewhere or just borrowing, if you will, the best way to know if a house is occupied or not is honestly by the smell or if the door seems to be used often." She looks around and she points to this one here. She goes, "I guess I could just help as well. I know where most people live, but people kind of move around a lot as well as the homes deteriorate over time." She goes, "I've never sold anything out of this location here, but that's not to say there's nothing inside."
And sorry to trouble you. I'll let you go as soon as I can. I'm wondering, is there a mayor or a council or anybody that runs this town?
Um, she looks at you and sort of a tear starts to cry a bit as she sort of wipes her eye. She pulls out like a handkerchief. It's very dirty and rather gross. And she kind of like dabs her eye at the top. She goes, "This town has seen a lot of death in the last couple of days. We did have a Burgomaster, but I believe he's either fallen ill or he's passed recently. It's been rather quite a bit of turmoil lately. I don't know exactly what's happening or what's going to happen, but I would say pay a visit um, to the wow, what's the word I'm looking for? To the tavern as soon as you can, either tonight or." And she kind of looks at all of you. She's like, "Well, maybe not tonight. You look rather tired, except for the robot." And she says, "You need to speak with Ismark before you leave, at the very least, to see he can answer any questions you have. He may now be in charge if his father has passed."
Is the tavern the building in the plaza to the south?
Yes, and she kind of points. It's almost the home that you would be potentially that she points to staying in. The one right behind it is the tavern itself. She goes, "Yes, yes, you were almost there. It's usually the only light on at night, and for good reason. It's one of the relatively safe places in such a horrible in a horrible town overall."
Do you have any pies left?
She goes, "I do. I sure do. They may be the end of the night, but I assure you, this cart that I've made keeps them rather fresh. You believe her mostly. There's some kind of spotty woodwork here and there and some patch marks, but you assume that the humidity and maybe the weather and the fog might keep some types of baked goods fresher for longer. Who knows?" She goes, "I don't usually give them out, but considering I just have a couple left, if you don't have the coin, I hate to assume because you're not from here, I could spot you one if you needed to eat, or if you did have coin, I usually sell them for. Fuck, give me 1 second. I don't want to spend the time looking, so I will just say a silver for now. But
So
she
I'll take out 2 silver and say
okay.
1 pie's fine. Thank you for the help.
Oh no, it's the least I can do for someone in the situation that you find yourself in. Please keep your money and just come back if you like it next time and support me that way." And she kind of like puts the coin back on top of the pie as she pulls it out. It does, if you do grab it and smell, it does smell good overall. It seems a bit rough around the edges in terms of its freshness, but it definitely seems edible and clearly homemade. So yeah, she's content
Oh.
at this, but kind of makes a comment like, "I really must get back to my house. The best of luck to you."
I'll say thank you so much with a bow and take the pie back. I'm not
Yeah.
eating it, I'm just taking it.
Okay. She smiles. She has no intention, apparently, to watch you eat it. She pulls her hood back over her head, and she kind of creaks along again, as it seems like almost a struggle for her to just move this thing. But she does it consistently as it kind of rounds the corner here, and then heads in this direction here, kind of out of sight. And you guys can obviously do something before she heads off, but that's where she's going to go.
Excuse me, miss.
Yeah, before she's kind of packing up before she leaves. She goes, "Yes."
Does the name Strahd mean anything to you?
Her tone immediately changes. A dark kind of like scowl comes over her face, and she goes, "Never say the devil's name." And she's looking at you as if you've like done something wrong, and she's like your grandpa or your grandma. You've like knocked over a glass or something. She says that and then confirms, like, why would you speak his name here at this time? What would possess you to do that?
We're sorry. We're new here and we didn't mean any offense. We apologize.
She looks and she kind of says, like, haphazardly, as she's physically looking around her, almost as if she's possibly being watched now, or if there's something to be worried about. And she goes, "Yes, well, sorry, I guess I never mentioned it, but of all the things to say at any time of day, at this time of day, it's the worst. Please just don't use that name in this town, and if you must, whisper it, or we refer to him as the devil. But yes, Strahd means a lot." And she, well, fuck, she doesn't say it. She goes, that name means quite a lot here, but I assure you, I don't intend to have long conversations about that person right now at this time. If you do find any kind of shelter in this home here, as she's kind of pointed out to, I have no problems talking at a later time. I usually make my rounds every day throughout the entire town. So you'll see me again, kind of like an ice cream truck, if you will. She goes, I really would like to go now, though.
Thank you. What was your name?
She looks up and kind of a little more. She kind of like takes a deep breath and like stands up a bit, not fully straight. She's kind of been hunched over this whole time. And she goes, "You can just call me Morgan. That's fine." And Morgan Freeman. The meat pies go from wall to wall. What is and she looks at you. She goes, "You can call me Morgan. Most people around here do. And what's your name?" She's looking at you, Toto.
I am Toto von Hundenwald. Thank you,
Yes,
Morgan.
quite a foreign name. And she looks over at you, maybe a bit forgiving at this point. She kind of feels sorry for snapping at you, maybe. And she goes, and you, sir, looking at you, Vemrak.
My name is Vemrak.
Vemrak. She's looking at you now curiously, maybe for the first time, since you hadn't spoken much. And she kind of mentions, she goes, "Your eyes, are they okay? I think I see blood on your face."
I'm not quite sure yet.
Wow, that's very unfortunate. She looks at you, observer. You assume you've stayed quiet in the very back, and she goes, "I must get going, but I guess names are fine. I've not met a new person in a very long time." And she goes, what might your name be?"
Well, my name's Observer.
Now, I haven't really asked you this, and I should have. You don't look like a robot, or you do look like a robot?
I definitely look like a robot.
You're clearly
I'm
just this like
straight up-
mechanized thing.
Yeah, I'm
crawling around.
redoing my character in Hero Forge with new armor, essentially like making him hooded, but
Okay.
his like full bare like chest is like full on metal. Like you can tell he's a
Okay.
robot.
So she looks at you for the first time now, and actually she looks over to you, Toto, and she's like, I would like to meet the contraption you've made behind you as well at some point, but I must get going.
Contraption.
How loud do you say that?
Pretty loud enough for her to hear.
She kind of perks up, almost like surprised, and she's like, "Oh, what an interesting night. I was almost home and never thought to run into anyone, yet alone this group of 4." She'll look at Royce, I guess, too. He's here technically, and she's like, "Wow, I guess it speaks. Of course it speaks. Of course you speak. I'm very sorry. You said your name was Observer."
Yes.
Yes. Well, nice to meet all of you. Please, I really must go. It's getting even later, and yes, just do yourselves a favor and keep the name you mentioned out of your mouths as long as you're in Barovia. And she kind of heads off if you guys allow it.
Who's going? I'll be like, Barovia. So have you guys ever heard of this place before?
Give me 1 second. I'm writing things. Sorry.
What was the name of the town that we had all met in prior?
I don't remember.
Squatsville, population priest.
Yeah. I
It
don't recall.
was Townsville.
Townsville-ington.
It was Blythewood Village.
Yes. There
Look
it
at
is.
this guy.
So
It's just a test.
no, I didn't realize it was in my notes. So is this when we had heard Barovia? This is the first time we're hearing that, correct? I believe.
You guys probably would have read it in the Death House, but in terms of a person that you're speaking to confirming that it's Barovia, yes, I would say that sounds accurate.
Has it dawned on us yet, like as a party, that we're clearly not in the same place that we were venturing in the woods before?
That's up to you guys.
Not in Kansas anymore, boys.
What the hell is this Kansas you speak of?
Morgan's like, oh, yes,
Read about it.
Kansas. Tornadoes there are terrible.
But she had pointed out houses. She said she kind of like gave us some hints as to where to search, right?
She pointed to this house here and said that she had effectively like never sold anything to anyone that lived in that place. So she said she wasn't sure if no one was there, but she at least never had any business there.
And what was the name of I forget the title you gave him.
The Burgomaster. She never said the Burgomaster's name, but she said that Ismark was his son and that he may be in charge at this point. She wasn't sure.
Burgomaster essentially is would run the inn.
Would be like no, it would be like a mayor, essentially.
Okay.
Grim may know the actual definition
Is
more than me.
Is Burgomaster the word or the spelling?
Yes, am I just saying it that wrong?
So Burgomaster is basically, it means town master. So it's mayor.
Okay.
I mean Burg and Meister, Burgomeister.
I've heard people call it Burgermeister, and I just refuse to say that. So I've just said Burgomaster.
I think if you were gonna go for German, it'd be like Burgomeister.
Okay. Here, Siri's gonna look it up.
The mayor of a Dutch, Flemish, German, Austrian, or Swiss town.
I've been avoiding giving Toto an accent because I'm not sure if I can pull it off all the time. But
Ja, das un Mayor.
Das un Burgermeister, ja.
Yeah, I am Toto von Hundenwald. I'm from Austria. Yeah, and we have kind of the Schwarzenegger type accent.
You're like, this is the saddest meat pie I've ever seen.
Oh, and for the record, she walks away like I have no intention of actually necessarily eating this thing.
It does look. I mean, overall, it looks tasty. You're just not sure how fresh it is. But they're also not made to be eaten right away necessarily. Like the whole point of them overall is to be portable. So
yeah, I was buying it to be nice and try and pay her back for talking to us as she was obviously trying to go away.
do put it in your inventory for me though, please.
Meat pie? Okay.
Yep.
Let me add
You
an
put
item here.
Morgan meat pie.
New.
That's not foreboding.
I'm so paranoid as being a DM. It's just like, oh god, he's telling me to add it to my inventory. What the fuck's gonna happen?
I was gonna I've never run anything that had an access to like an easy inventory. It's so nice. So even the store that I set up, like the shop I set up, just has like random shit in it that I'm like, oh, this is so fucking easy and cool. So yeah, you never know. Just because it's an item doesn't mean it means anything.
I know. Yes, Foundry is so nice.
Yeah, I've added a couple hand-drawn maps of Barovia, for example. Let's see if you guys pay for them.
Oh god.
It's like this one was drawn by Rose and Thorn 500 years ago.
Just a fucking squiggle.
Right?
Yeah, I don't know. Sorry, completely non sequitur. Do any of you watch Formula One racing at all?
I'm starting to get into it a bit.
Oh my god, the fucking circuit they ran last weekend, it looks like somebody stepped on a spoon. It's this new Saudi Arabian course that was just...
I watched the night race.
Oh, you watched it? Holy shit.
I watched parts of it. I watched in passing while I was playing something, I watched the highlights of it, and I just saw like this fucking insane crash, and then I was at a bowling alley when it was live, and it was on one of those like one of the like the TVs like down the alley, so I wasn't paying perfect attention to it.
Outside of this, we should catch up because this season has been insane. Next week, this Sunday is the last race of the season, and it's a tied championship right now. And yeah, we should talk between now and then if you're planning on watching it, because holy
for
shit.
Sure. For sure.
Okay,
the rest of you
sorry.
around like Formula One.
Is Hamilton? Who's the guy? Is it Hamilton? Is he still owning F1?
Okay, I'm gonna cut this whole fucking section from the recording, but what are we at? We're at like, let me look at the time that I'm at. I'm at 56 minutes in. Cool. Just so I know when to edit this shit out. So basically, Hamilton has been dominant for years, and Max Verstappen for Red Bull has been just like a fucking maniac this year in many ways. And so they're going into the final race of the season this Sunday, tied. But if Verstappen crashes out Hamilton and they both don't finish, Verstappen will win. So like Hamilton has to get better than Verstappen and not let Verstappen crash him out, but Verstappen has like tried to crash him out like 3 or 4 times now, so it's just fucking dirty. Like
Isn't this the first season for a new engine or new car?
No, so this is the last year of the current car regulations.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's like this has probably been the best season in like 10 years.
But what didn't something happen? Was it this season where they implemented the money caps, the lower cap?
So this season is the first season of the new price caps. Next year is new car design, but the engines are frozen.
Okay, and the cap goes down even more, right?
It goes down another 10 million.
Yeah, it's 145 to 135.
We'll see what happens. Like that's just I don't know how the fuck they do it. Like I'm curious to see how that pans out because this year they had to give the teams like they basically because they added a couple races, the teams were like, you gotta give us some more fucking cap.
Yeah.
Because it's just like we can't go 23 fucking races across the world. Like they go everywhere. So it's just nuts. Anyway, I'll shut up because this is crossing my streams. But yeah, hit me up if you want like in-depth ranting about F1 between now and Sunday because Sunday's gonna be a crazy fucking race.
That's cool. Where's the Sunday race at?
Abu Dhabi.
Okay, cool.
Because of course we're gonna have the last race in the fucking Middle East on a course that nobody really likes, but whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry for your Formula 1 3 minutes.
No, you're fine.
I mean, they're going to do that because they paid the most money to host it.
Oh, the track this week? The track
Well,
this
they're all
week wasn't
brand new
done.
track, right?
No. Okay, so the minute extends. Sorry. The track they just raced on wasn't finished until 2 days before they got there, which is like those tracks are supposed to be certified 6 months in advance, so that's some fucking petrodollars right there.
Jesus Christ.
And they built a brand new track as a street circuit. And usually street circuits are actually like on the streets of a city, but they built it like a street circuit because apparently they wanted to crash out a bunch of cars because it's also the second fastest track of the season. Like, it's just Jeddah was fucking stupid, and I can't wait for it to go away. Anyway, sorry. I have opinions and emotions about this.
I have opinions.
I like it.
I like it. Nice. Okay, so you guys allow her to kind of round that corner?
She showed us where she lives, right?
She did not.
Okay.
She never stated that. She can still be here if you guys want to talk to her, but her patience does seem to be waning a bit.
Yeah, we can talk to her tomorrow. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
So what do you think, Toto? Do you think we should try to find this Burgomaster?
I mean, I don't know. If we need to... What time is it? Do we have any idea what time it is?
He said it's like
very,
very 1 a.m.
Yeah.
Maybe we should... I don't know. I feel like if the Burgomaster is ill or dying, maybe bursting in at 1 a.m. ain't great.
Yeah.
I just wanted to... Like, she said that nobody seems to care if we pop a squat somewhere, so I'm less worried now. I just didn't want us to get, like, roused by the local constabulary to go to trial or something.
So should we enter? And I'll point to the house that she had pointed out.
I think it's that or the tavern.
I think we should take our chances with the house.
Sounds good to me.
Either one matters to me.
All right.
Yes, my contraption.
No, shut up.
I'm gonna start somebody made you at all points in time just to get a little payback for you making a fucking robot.
Goddamn mechanics.
Okay, I'd like to do a clean sweep of the house and just check for traps and see if I can find any signs of danger or any traps in there.
Sure. Go ahead and roll perception. Nice. You kind of circle this house. You do kind of see the back end of this larger, probably tavern building as well. But the home that that was pointed out to you does seem to be abandoned. There's no smoke coming out of it. The front door doesn't seem super sturdy, but nothing around here does anyway. But there's no stench of like clear death as you walk up to the windows and the doors. All the windows in the front are solid enough. And if you sort of try and open that door a bit just to see if you can kind of get that same sensation that you did from the other one, you don't have that strong odor.
This place seems fairly secure. How do you guys feel about resting here?
I mean, I can... If we want to spend a few minutes inside, once we pass the threshold, I can just kind of scope out if there's anything bad going on here that's incredibly obvious.
Sure.
So, if we go in... Are we good with going in?
I'm good with it.
Cool. I will... Oh, no. Don't consume the spell slot. Don't place a measured template. I'll cast Detect Magic as a ritual once we get inside. So it takes like 10 minutes.
Okay. You guys enter a very dusty, very cobweb-ridden structure. It's probably not been inhabited by anything consistently for years, as far as you can tell. Parts of the floor that you see on this sort of first and only level as you enter seem to go down. There's a cold draft that kind of comes in from the floorboards as there's holes and marks and things missing. In terms of furnishings inside, surprisingly, there seems to be a chair and maybe a larger sort of bench in here. The look of spotty / deteriorating work overall. The kitchen, if you just kind of venture, I assume, through the whole first floor here, it's basically a kitchen, a living room, if you will, and then like 2 small bedrooms off to either side on a hallway. Both bedrooms seem to be relatively good shape. The beds inside are missing. There is a frame in here, so there's really no comfortable place to lay. Overall, though, it does seem nice to be inside of a room that isn't trying to actively kill you. And even though there is a draft coming from the living room itself, it does seem that it is cooler and a bit warmer in here overall. The kitchen itself, most of the amenities or any kind of useful tools are missing. There are some very banged up cutlery here and there, and there's maybe some broken plates and things like that. Not much of any use or value. But yeah, overall, it seems as though you could spend the night here and be relatively safe. There's nothing that seems to just be creeping in the corner or under the house. And 10 minutes goes by and you don't detect any magic either, excuse me. Any abnormal magic, at least, aside from what you might be carrying.
Is there any furniture on the first floor?
The only furniture in here is the single chair that probably was part of a dining room set at some point, and then a larger sort of bench that one of you could probably lay across. Other than that, no, and it is just a single floor unit here.
Okay. I'll take the bench and the chair and kind of make the best kind of blockade that I can against the front door.
Okay.
Just, if anyone were to try to enter, we'd at least had some notice.
Okay.
While he's doing that, Wait, Siri, you're Vedmak, right?
I'm Bemrek.
Bemrek, sorry. Okay, never mind. While you're doing that, I'll ask you, do you think magic could heal your eyes?
I tried cure wounds already.
Oh, you did? Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I think the bargain that I have struck with the individual I did reaches far deeper than normal magic in order to keep me on this plane. I shouldn't be here, and I shouldn't have survived.
I'll just nod in reply.
Are you undead?
He is not undead.
But he's never changing, or is he still like able to age, or?
I mean, nobody knows.
Fascinating.
The only thing that you know is I don't have eyes.
And as far as he's getting around, it seems to be relatively normal with a couple hitches here and there. So it seems like it's maybe someone that's gone under some anesthesia or something and is coming out of that, getting his kind of rhythm back, if you will. But in terms of, the party would sort of know if there was some type of evil all of a sudden amongst them, or not necessarily evil, but any kind of, he's still human as far as you can tell. The cleric would obviously feel any kind of undead presence as well, and he doesn't.
I think that's paladins.
I
mean, if you want to give me that, that's fine.
I mean, in general, there doesn't seem to be this, like,
cool,
unholy sort of, like, creature amongst you. Like, from all the mannerisms that you've seen, all the, the voice, the the sort of personality, if you will, seems to be here for the most part. If anything, it's a bit more humbled. But outside of that, the physical changes to the eyes are the most noticeable.
Yeah, you can
What?
tell, like, Vemrak, who you knew, who, was this very, like, adamant, very boisterous kind of barbarian, right? This large hulking figure. Kind of seems like he had kind of his, his whole demeanor has changed completely. Outside of his eyes being taken away, he doesn't have that same kind of confidence and that same,
He lost his
same.
mojo.
Yeah, you can definitely tell, like, he's definitely a bit more on the melancholy side, and kind of certainly how recent this is, not knowing what to make of it all, but certainly humbled.
Yeah.
I think would be a good summary point.
I guess slightly related but not related, but related question. So, Hasiri's not undead, right? Like, mechanically.
Correct.
And, Observer, are you a construct?
Check. I don't think I necessarily count as a construct.
Or put more specifically, Shatner, does Prayer of Healing work on Observer?
Yes. All healing acts as normal for me.
I'm asking questions and observing to try and figure out my spell preparations for tomorrow.
Yeah, there's in the D&D 5th edition they changed how Warforged work to make them pretty much just like normal humans. There's a specific part here that says
Cool. I'm good. Thanks. I was just doing some thinking about what I could prepare for tomorrow with my second level slots.
Cool. So you guys want to do anything before an attempted rest here?
let's do the normal thing where I sleep while being awake.
Okay. Everyone else just knocking out on picking a floor, and you guys taking a room or gonna stay in the same room?
I've got a bedroll. I'll stay by everybody else.
I have a bedroll as well.
Okay. Bedroll adds some nice layer of comfort, as minimal as it may be, and overall, I'll say that the two that are sleeping, you sleep relatively well. Vemrak, you have very specific sort of flashbacks and dreams to the being that you sort of saw in the last dream that wasn't that long ago. When you do wake up, you're a bit kind of sweated and sort of confused initially in terms of which reality you're in, but quickly see your surroundings and are confident that nothing dramatic has changed. Observer, as you're sleeping, the other two do not wake up to this. However, you do kind of hear the muffled crying and at some point sort of wails of this woman. She does seem to sleep for a good period of time, and you do hear some rats in the walls. Definitely a group of them lives under the house, but they don't seem to bother you. You guys don't have any open food out or anything, and yeah, overall, it's relatively peaceful. And you guys gonna sleep for the 6 hours and then kind of hang out for 2, or is that what you guys are planning?
I was sleep, do my preparations. I am changing a spell. I don't know if it matters, but it should be good. Can I hit the long rest button?
Hey, just a question for you guys. When I logged in, I didn't have anything. I had no hit points missing or anything missing. Did you guys have stuff missing?
I didn't, but we also leveled up.
Sorry,
Yeah.
my mic is doing this great thing. I know, Observer, it's a bad one. Please. But now I've apparently hit the mechanical threshold to being able to mute my mic by lifting it up and down. So now, like every 10 or 12 movements, it just shuts off, which is great. So I did not hear what you said, Grim, after you said something along the lines of you're preparing a different spell. So if you were just announcing that, that's fine. But I may want to make sure I didn't ignore something.
I was just going to hit the long rest button in Foundry.
Yeah, you're good.
Long rest.
Cool.
Yep, just did it.
Just resets everything in case. But I swapped the invisibility for Prayer of Healing.
Yeah, just so you're aware, the Warforged behave no differently when it comes to healing.
Yeah, I wasn't sure, so I didn't want to take like an AoE healing spell if there was no point. Because I was thinking of taking Lesser Restoration to try on Vemrak's Eyes, but it sounds like that's not a good use of a spell slot, so I will not.
Yeah.
But I'm a cleric, damn it.
Alright, I am back from my bio.
Would I guess in character, would you guys want to talk about like how we would approach situations at all, or no?
Yeah, I think we've been doing that. No.
Well, I just don't know how much anybody else knows about, like... I'm trying to think of an in-game way to avoid being metagamey. I don't know how much you care, Shatner, but, like... Yeah.
What's been happening I'm fine with at this point. You're talking about in terms of, like, having discussions before making big decisions and
Well, I'm thinking, like,
situations.
I can...
Time is ticking.
I know every cleric spell, right? But I can only pick so many. So, like, I can either just... I guess for the group, like, I can either just make my best guess of what, or I could even, like, if we talk about it, I can figure out, like, how I can support
Game
people.
plan for
Because-
like, the day.
Well, because I think, like, as a cleric, sorry if I am being metagamey, but, like, as a cleric, I can either focus kind of on, like, running my own shit, or I can focus on supporting everybody else a ton. So I just want to...
I don't think that's bad. I
Okay.
mean, this campaign's not easy in most situations, and especially being down one currently. So
Yeah, so, like, I have a variety of support spells. Like, I have Sleep, I have Fairy Fire, I have Guiding Bolt, I have Protection from Good and Evil, and then a bunch of healing stuff and Detect Magic. And then I also have Spiritual Weapon, which is, like, my damage source for now, and Moonbeam, which I get for free because that's awesome, which is also damage. But I also have, like, for my third second level slot right now, I'm taking Prayer of Healing to kind of, like, heal everybody. But I have a lot of other options, like Zone of Truth or Restoration or shit. So I guess if anybody ever is like, hey, it would be great to have a spell, let me know. Because I can try to adjust my loadout to support you guys better. So that's my point there.
I think it's like, I think it's kind of like, I don't necessarily think we need to min-max or anything like that. Like, I think it's kind of cool trying to figure stuff out in character and not like,
Yeah.
you know, that's my 2 cents. Like, I think I would like, I guess, kind of how like Critical, the only kind of knowledge of D&D I have is Critical Role and just watching them, but it seems like that's how they try to do it, you know, kind of like limit themselves from like trying to win the game versus trying to like play the game how the characters would, you know.
Yeah, like, I guess from my perspective, I'm not trying to, I guess I'm completely breaking the fourth wall a little bit, but, like, I'm totally open to, if you guys want me to play a support cleric versus a healing cleric versus whatever, like, feel free to let me know, because I have a ton of options, and whether that's in character or out of character, yeah. I just want to make sure you guys know that I have those options because of the class I took, and we can figure that out however. Like, that's all. Yeah.
Speaking out of character, I would say play how you want to play.
Yeah.
Like however you think would be the most beneficial, or however you want to play it.
Because I'll
I'm good with
probably build towards a default support role unless somebody's like, "Hey Toto, can you do this?" Just so you guys know. Okay, I'll shut up about metagaming.
No, you're good.
As the sun, quote unquote, rises here, you guys wake up. You have 2 more hours just of rest to get that full rest. I don't know. How do you usually roleplay that, Grim? Because it's like you can hang out, read a book. Like, would you consider that walking around, or would you kind of force like 8 hours of time in one area, one building, and then you can leave and go out? Like, what do you do with that 2-hour gap that D&D kind of says is just relax?
So the way I've run it is if we actually have to pull watches, I actually calculate like I have a spreadsheet with tons of this shit where it's just like based on how many people you have, this is how long it takes to actually long rest if you're doing watches.
Okay.
Outside of that, the only time as a DM that I ever fuck about with the long rest is if I think there's a thematic or actual danger. Like, so if there's a thematic thing that I want to have happen, like I have tried to do in my game sometimes, I will inject it into the long rest, but by and large, I don't screw around with it too much unless there's a really good reason, because it just seems to me like, what's the point?
Gotcha. Okay. So we'll just say 8 hours goes by. You guys wake up in the late morning. You went to bed rather late. And yeah, through the windows, if you have access to seeing one, you can definitely tell that there is some light outside, and it seems like some movement overall in terms of people. You hear some voices here and there, maybe the sound of like a cart here and there kind of passing through, but not your typical bustling city on a fresh morning, but definitely more lively than what you experienced coming in late last night. So you guys are free to go from there.
Should we go and find the Burgomaster?
We could look for him. We could also hit the tavern or the town and see if we can learn anything else. I think either might be good.
I'd like to know more about the fog and why we can't seem to leave. That's we got exhausted just trying to move through it. Going back.
Should we get some food at the tavern and see if we can figure out where the Burgomaster is, or if it's appropriate to find him?
Sure. I think that's good.
It is so hard to find a good photo of this town that doesn't make one aspect of it just look so out of place.
Oh, wait, that thing. That's the thing.
I know, it's like, I understand how the book describes it, but it just looks so stupid in most people's renditions, at least in my opinion, of the actual town. I had some stuff saved, but now I can't seem to find it. So the photo I want to use is perfect, except that it is... Oh, now it wants to load fully. Okay. It's the screen. It's like the thumbnail of a YouTube video, so it was being weird initially. I hate Discord sometimes, just because I'm dumb, not because.
Did you hit X and options?
No, I forget. Like I click to a different every time I go to watch someone stream, that other window comes up, and I just never know how to get rid of it. And so I usually click something stupid by either leaving the channel or disconnecting like an idiot. So all you have to do is click a text channel, and you're fine. I'm just used to this. But if you guys open up the door, when you do, you kind of walk out into. I don't know why I said it was all single-story buildings. I'm sorry, they're not. The one you're in is single story, but a lot of these buildings are 2 stories or more. So there's a very good example of the occasional kind of lit house or building, and then most things being relatively abandoned looking overall. Do note that the fog has sort of dissipated a bit, and in the distance you do see a large impending castle, if you will, that's clearly looking over this entire town, ominously in the background there. I like this photo overall. I just hate that you would never see this because of fog, but I will post it just because you've traveled this area so far. Kind of where you initially entered the valley that you're in. That would be the top near where the gates are. You went down into the valley. Some of those initial sort of like on the road buildings there would be the death house. The village you're currently in is clearly seen there, and then way above, like up on this sort of plateau cliffside, is this rather large sprawling castle. So kind of combine those two into one image in your head, if you will, and that's kind of the vision I'd like for you guys to have. So,
Well, there's a title card for the episode. Thanks.
yeah. But yeah, you guys are free to move as you'd like. Around you immediately, you notice some people kind of walking here and there. They're in very, very basic clothing. They don't tend to make eye contact, and even if, as much as you guys would assume that you stand out, no one seems immediately concerned with figuring out who the hell you are, why you're here. They seem to be on some type of daily task, if you will, and they're kind of continuing on their way. But yeah, I'll change the setting to daytime.
We need to definitely find out more information about this place.
Oh, what up, Sterling? Are you home, or are you on your way home?
Yeah.
Oh, perfect. Actually, didn't miss too much. Anybody want to give a quick update? I'm going to grab a drink real quick.
We went to the town. It's weird. We talked to an old lady who told us not to say Strahd, and we squatted in a house overnight.
I'll be right back.
Yeah, I asked her if she knew the name Strahd, and she said don't say the devil's name.
And then, because I've had 2 vodkas, I ended up talking about Formula 1 and metagaming for a little bit. But we just woke up after sleeping in an abandoned house, and I think we're planning on trying to figure out the mayor or Burgomaster of this town is sick or dead, so we're trying to figure out if we should go see him or not.
I think we're gonna go to the tavern first, right?
I'm supposed to be level 3, aren't I?
Yes.
Okay. I need to level up.
You guys want to go the short way that we know, or go around the block and see if we can reveal any more of the town?
I think we can take a stroll. I'd also like to, out of character, I'd like to explore this town. Just see if there's any shops or anything cool.
Tavern's probably a good place to find that, too.
Yeah. Hey, did we ever... Oh, shit. I gotta look at the loot that I... During the skill challenge, I took a bunch of loot. I took a bone knife, a wand, a dagger, a frog, and a 25 gold ring. 25 gold ring.
Did we detect magic on any of those, or no?
No, because I died shortly after.
He died. We'll say he has everything on him still, but all of those items that you pulled from the death house, The ones that were on in that sort of like room that was displaying them, none of them detected magic overnight whenever you did. The wand you were the most curious about, kind of in hindsight, and so it seems to have been either poorly made or misunderstood when it was designed. And then any of the books that you took, did anyone take anything else? I know there was the main book that was predicting things. I'll get to that, but did anybody else take anything they had questions about?
I took the sphere from Strahd's statue.
Okay. Is that in your inventory?
The crystal orb. No.
Okay, put that in your inventory. I need to make sure I don't forget about that. I need to go back and remember if that had further significance. Anyone else take anything they're unsure about from that lovely place?
I have
No.
How do I export my character again?
I've never done it. Can one of you walk him through that?
If you open your character sheet, next to your character name, is there a little D&D Beyond logo?
Yes.
Click on that.
And then I just do on D&D Beyond. I just do share and copy the link to this URL box.
Yep.
And when you import it, you want to make sure you do everything. You want to you want to uncheck name, uncheck weapons, uncheck other equipment, currency, and image. So are you watching my stream right now?
I can't be. 1 sec. Okay.
So you just want to make sure that these things are checked. That way, because if you check like other equipment, it'll override anything you have in Foundry.
All right. Cool.
So the the predictive book, if you will, or the book that was kind of giving you live updates to what was going on, seems to have stopped the second that you guys left. The last note is that you guys noticed that Vimrak had fallen behind but continued to run, and then it kind of stops at that point.
Just to go back to any detect magic, Shatner, just as a refresher too, we also found that room that had 5 chests. We found a pouch made of human skin, 3 moss agates or agates, I don't know how to say that.
Agate.
Agate. Black leather eye patch with a carnelian. An ivory hairbrush with silver bristles, and a silvered short sword. Was any of that magic?
Sorry, this mic is fucking killing me. The last thing I heard was silver short sword. None of that came off as being magical.
Okay. We also never distributed loot, I think, from that and the shit I had picked up. Because I had picked up... in the second session, I picked up a jewelry box made of silver with gold filigree. It contains 3 gold rings and a thin platinum necklace with a topaz pendant. So we should at some point just split loot or do whatever we're going to do.
Just pop it in party loot for now.
How do I do that? Just click on the party token?
Yeah.
Did someone take the short sword? The silvered short sword? Right.
I have it.
Okay.
My background music died.
I don't hear any music this time.
Same.
Hey, there it is.
Did you guys end up playing last week?
No.
Yeah, sorry about that. I had a family emergency that came up.
No worries.
Hopefully everything's okay.
Yeah, it's all good. I had to run my uncle to the hospital.
Oh, jeez.
I'm in week 2 of quarantining kids from repeated exposures to COVID.
Oof.
I'm glad my boss is completely okay with it, but it sucks.
I'll be right back.
So I think we were gonna wander around town the long way to see if we could find any shops.
Sure, wherever you guys want to go, just let me know. Just move slow.
Do you want to go to the tavern first and ask around there? Or?
I was just gonna loop around the far side of the block and then go to the tavern.
Okay, let's do that. Also, I think at some point we should go back and talk to that woman and ask her about the Dursts and stuff.
Hey, so what am I doing with arrows? Am I supposed to be keeping track of this shit? Because I have not been.
No.
Don't keep track of regular ones. It's fine. Anything special. Special arrows, yes.
Then should I just get rid of these arrows in my inventory?
It's up to you.
Either take a weight.
1 pound.
Ooh.
I would say probably just keep it. Just there's a little bit there. That's a shot.
Once you guys sort of round that corner, you get the glimpse of I wouldn't say nice, but functional looking church kind of perched up on a hill with what seems to be a pretty well maintained cemetery gate around it. There you see some tombstones. This is, again, each square here is about 40 feet, just so you guys get some perspective here. If you round that corner, you do kind of look up a slight incline up to a raised and sort of symmetric building down the center that has a central door to it. The windows seem to be somewhat boarded up. The overall structure looks sound and probably occupied or used, but it doesn't necessarily look like there's a lot of services that go on here consistently. There's no sort of outward signs of consistent use, at least anything recent. There are some of the same sort of pamphlets that you see posted, and as you sort of walk around this initial street that you came out of, you do get a glimpse of a pamphlet that has not been ripped away, and it seems like the next date for the lottery is in the next couple days, as far as you can tell, time-wise. You have presumably passed a number of citizens at this point, if you guys are okay with just walking past them. For any that do make eye contact, they look at you sort of quizzically, and then kind of like look back down. Most of them have their heads sort of hung, and they are just sort of getting to their next point of interest without really being intrigued so much. You do pass by some kids that might have a little more cheer in their lives than the adults, although not to a much higher extent, and they kind of look at you with maybe a smile or kind of maybe ask a question as you guys are walking by, as you do stand out just based on your armor and your overall sort of decor, if you will, your clothes. But yeah, you guys have no issue getting to that area and kind of looking over at that church.
Are there any obvious religious symbols that I would recognize on the church?
Let me see. I made a bagel and I forgot about it. Let me see here.
I don't recognize that god of the realms.
Let me see.
Our Lord of Bagels. Basically, like, is it a church to a god I know?
Yeah, I'm checking right now. So it says atop a slight rise against the roots of the pillar stone that supports a castle high above stands a gray, sagging edifice of stone and wood. This church is obviously weathered, and assaults from evil over the centuries on end is worn and wary. A bell tower rises towards the back, and flickering light can be seen through the holes in the shingled roof. The rafters strain feebly against their load. You do notice are you guys going to stay at that range or get closer? To look for symbols, I would say you would need to get closer. Nothing stands out overall just from this distance, but if you guys do approach or kind of like peer over there looking specifically, you do notice that it looks as though there are claw marks across the door, and there are burn marks across the doors as well. As you also notice, most of the windows, even if they still have glass on them, have been boarded up from the inside.
That's not ominous at all.
Do we want to check this place out now, or come back to this?
I'm still good with Tavern Burgomaster plan.
Let's do that. By the way, Shatner, the smoke that we had seen last night from that or the fire that we had seen, or whatever. Do we know?
You presume it was just the chimney of the building you're approaching right now, and you see a couple others that had white smoke out of them as well.
Okay.
So at that corner, let me see. It seems like you're in a main square. Above a doorway in front of you, a sign hangs precariously askew, proclaiming this to be the Blood on the Vine Tavern. The door is open, the door is closed. And inside you can hear some kind of muffled talking. In this sort of town square, from what you can see, this probably is one of the largest intersections here. Multiple buildings do intersect, multiple roads do intersect in this location. Across from you here is another larger building. It does have a sign across it that says Bildras Mercantile. It doesn't look very inviting, but if you had to guess, this would be a place you could possibly sell or buy something in. And if you look further south, you do see a rather nice looking almost mansion or sort of like an estate home at the very southern tip here. Everything else sort of seems pretty average, if you will, in terms of its construction. A lot of these buildings near the center that you're in currently do seem to be occupied or at least maintained better than the clearly abandoned ones, but that's not saying too much.
Sorry, you said it was Bildras Mercantile?
It says Bildras, Bildratth, Bildras Mercantile.
Bildratth.
Yep.
Okay, and which building is the tavern? It's the one with the...
To the north.
Okay.
The largest of these here.
Okay. Let's go into the tavern.
Okay. The door is closed, so you guys just going to walk in?
Does it look like it's open for business?
You would assume so.
Maybe we should knock first.
Can we hear anything from inside?
Yeah, inside it does seem it's occupied by, you would say, at least 4 to 5 people. It's hard to tell. No one's like yelling. There's no laughter and stuff, but you do hear the kind of like the clink of glassware, or someone's moving things around, the shuffling of a chair here and there. You know,
I'm
it's
gonna go right in.
okay. Let me just adjust this place real quick.
I'll be right back.
Okay. That's weird. Why is that not working? That's all right. Cool. This map is not getting brighter, so just assume it's a bit brighter than this. The lights are still needed. Barovia is never super, sunlit. So this is outside the tavern. Hopefully you guys have vision. I think I set this place up correctly.
Yep, we can kind of see little bits through this door here.
That's
I
fine.
think.
Yeah, it's not a super tight fit. It's okay.
Also, Chad sent me a picture from my character.
I saw that. Awesome. Do you need me to do that, or can you do that?
I think you need to. I don't have any controls.
Okay. I'll update that at the next downtime.
All right, we going in?
I'm gonna
Yeah,
knock on the door.
Okay. If you knock on the door, no one seems to respond inside. They may not hear it, or they may just not care. Royce, are you just going to go in?
Yeah, I'm going in.
Okay. So the door is open. You do notice, Royce, right away that there's a couple people in here. They immediately are all looking back and say, tell your friend who's new, no one's going to invite him in.
Yeah, come on in, guys.
Okay, we'll walk in.
The sound of must be new in town comes from one of the uniquely dressed people sitting at this table over here, and he goes, well, if a new person doesn't stand out like a sore thumb, knocking on a door in Barovia sure does. Welcome to the Blood of the Vine Tavern. I'm sure you'll enjoy your stay. They kind of sound out sort of mockingly, if you will. One of them sort of like hits the one that's sort of calling out and whispers something under their breath, and they seem to kind of pipe down after that.
What a warm welcome.
There are three gentlemen on the table to the left that seem a little more friendly overall. They're talking amongst themselves. The three over here on this table seem to be all of the same group, just based on their what they're wearing. And then there is a commoner-looking barkeep, if you will, that is preoccupied / sort of nervously cleaning and kind of running around this kind of barkeep here as you walk in, almost not even noticing that you're here, but it's pretty unusual if he didn't. So it just seems as though he's maybe initially uninterested.
I'm gonna take a seat at the back table over here.
Okay, as you do, the three here definitely take notice. The gentleman here with the unique character portrait kind of looks over, like a grim smile on his face. He kind of nods over to you. They're both kind of all three of them are kind of studying you as you sit. The gentleman here sort of looks back at the barkeep and is kind of keeping an eye on all of you. The three on the right side seem to be kind of back at their games. If anyone in here seems to be happy, you'd assume it's the three on the right. It's sort of unusual, the difference in sort of not appearance, but also morale, if you will, between the two tables. as you guys enter. The barkeep will eventually kind of look up and just kind of mumble something that you can barely even hear Royce initially, and kind of waits for a response.
Well, can I get a whiskey neat, please?
He looks up and he kind of states under his breath in like a very deep voice. He's like, "We just have a soup right now, and I can get you a wine."
Nah, that's all good.
He's like, "Gonna be hard pressed to find anything else," he says as he kind of speaks under his voice as you walk away.
I'll walk up to the barkeep and... Hello, barkeep. We are obviously new in town. Could you help us out with some questions that I have?
He cuts you off and he's like, "I've got soup and wine." Sorry. You question, sure. As he's doing this, he's like, nervously is the good word. He's sort of like looking around, unsure of himself a bit, kind of wiping this glass with a kind of dirty rag. Ironically enough, he places it down, picks up another one, and it kind of is very rarely making eye contact with you. He's not like skittish so much as he's just sort of awkward, if you will.
Do you know what's up with the fog around this place?
Do you hear that? Do you say that loud enough for the entire place to hear, I'm assuming, or are you just kind of saying it to the person right in front of you?
Just to the person in front of me.
He looks up and he's like, yeah, soup or wine. You can ask someone else about that. I don't want to get involved in anything that I shouldn't."
Turn to Toto. People around here sure are friendly. I guess next I will turn to the ladies over here. Like, hello, ladies.
They're not all women. Let's say that 2 of them are men and the other is a female. I just couldn't get good tokens for them. There's only a couple options. So we'll just assume you didn't say ladies. And they kind of look up. They are much more involved in any kind of conversation you're attempting to have with them. And they kind of beckon, like, take a seat, without saying much. And they kind of point to the seat to the bottom, if you will. They look over at you, Toto. There seems to be room enough for maybe the 2 of you to sit. And they're like, kind of like beckoning over. Like, welcome to our tavern. How can I help you today?
Or tavern. Oh, you have a mighty fine establishment here. And not a very chatty barkeep.
Yes. Well, his job is simple. It is to serve food and to serve wine. You won't really find much else out of most Barovians around here. I do apologize for that service, but again, your options are limited. But we might be able to help you with anything. Did you need any food or wine?
Me? No. My friends, my companions here might. I have questions, if you have time.
Sure. You do look awfully unique. Might we ask a couple of you before you guys ask your questions?
Yeah, go ahead.
Looking at both of you, we'll say that the central one here kind of looks over you for a second or two and goes, "So, how long have you been here?" And I see here is in the kind of like holding up his hands, kind of like pointing around, like, in this area, how long have you been here?
It's a good question. This area, do you mean this town or the area that surrounds it?
How long have you been in the fog, I should say?
We don't know exactly. It feels like it's been a couple days or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds fair.
Seems like a couple days.
Yeah.
Okay, and where have you stopped so far along your journey at this point?
No, we found a house that was obviously haunted. That
Didn't you burn it down at the end?
Oh yes.
I
Yes,
forgot
I
about
did.
that. I was thinking about stuff earlier today, and I forgot to bring that up. You did burn it down. It was on fire when you left, so I do want to
Yep.
state that. I forgot that. Okay.
Yeah, there was a haunted house with ghosts and strange creatures. There was a chest that turned into a chair. I'm sorry, no, it was a door that turned into a chair. And all
Spirits.
kinds of
There were spirits.
yeah, spirits. There were certainly some spirits, and not the good kind.
They look at you sort of quizzically, not really seeming to know of any place, and goes, "Oh, well, I'm glad you've made it to our establishment here. Might I ask what you're looking for now? Maybe we could be of some service and maybe trade something."
Well, really want to try to get back into our quest before we found our way here. We were on our way to help out some villagers, and we seem to have found ourselves here, and we can't get back. What was the name of the town again that we were in?
Blythewood.
Village.
Is it Blythewood?
The woman looks up and she goes, "I've not heard of that place, but it's not uncommon. New faces aren't super frequent around here, but I'm afraid you guys have maybe found yourselves in quite the predicament. I hate to be the bearer of bad news or news at all, outside of, well, where I should be speaking. However, I suggest that you pay a visit to someone." She pulls out rather quickly and with some finesse, like a fine pen, if you will, or like a pencil. Let's say a pencil from a kind of a sleeve in her jacket that she's wearing. She pulls out a nice piece of parchment and writes down a name on it. It just says Madam Ava, and she goes, "There's a smaller town or a smaller encampment, if you will, full of my people, just northwest of here, and I would say that you visit them at some point in the next couple days, if you will, to maybe get your bearings or let your predicament settle in, if you will. If you need any help getting there, feel free to come looking for us, and we could guide you. But please don't hesitate to ask. But any other questions on what Madame Ava does or what she's about? I'm afraid I don't have any good information.
Can I assume that Vemrek can hear this conversation happening from where I am?
Yeah, there's not a lot of cheer going on in here, anything much else, so you can get most of this. The three to the north of you here are just kind of talking amongst themselves, being pretty deliberate to keep their conversations to themselves.
I'm going to take that black eye patch that we found with the carnelian, and I'm going to tie it around myself. Or I'm going to wear it, rather.
Okay.
And then I'm going to just kind of like patch together some kind of loose cloth I have around the other missing eye socket.
Okay. You have no problem doing that.
And I'm going to walk up to the table.
Okay.
Are any of you planning on going back to see Madame Ava anytime soon?
We don't typically talk of our travels, but she's purposely trying to be discreet, and it seems as though she's sort of like tiptoeing around things, but she's not trying to be rude in maybe giving away things that she doesn't want to. She simply smiles at you and basically says, like, if you need help getting to the Tesser pools, which she formally refers to it as this time, again, you can find one of us here at any point in the day, and most of the time at night as well. But don't look to me for too much of your don't look for me for too much information on your current situation, as I assure you, I know little more than what you do at this point.
You mentioned, as I walk up to the table and kind of hearing all this, you mentioned us needing to understand our predicament that we're in. What do you mean?
You're not the first set of travelers to become lost and stumble into Barovia. And, well, if that's not enough to frighten you, I am trying not to make a situation I don't know to the fullest extent seem worse or maybe better than it is. And that's just the honest truth.
What is this place?
This is the Blood of the Vine Tavern. And you are in the city of Barovia, which is in Greater Barovia, if you will.
You
I'm
mentioned
gonna thank her for the information and ask for her name.
Sure. She smiles at you and she says, "My name is Alika."
And I am Observer. Do very much appreciate the help.
Nice to meet you. I assume and I see that we will most likely meet again. I just hope it's in maybe a better situation. Although I wouldn't get too used to that in general in these parts.
And you mentioned the fog. You asked how long we've been in the fog. What is it?
She looks at you and she does that deep exhale. She goes, "Listen, I will attempt to calm your spirits as much as I possibly can. But again, my fear is that I don't like to dwell or get involved in things that are well above me, if you can understand that." And she's kind of like waiting for a response from you guys.
So are you basically acting as a messenger to us right now?
She smiles, partially sarcastically, but like confirming that statement overall. A messenger, you could say yes, but only due to my proximity within this town. Again, you're not the first set of visitors to find themselves here, groups to find themselves here, and I'm afraid that in most situations the outcome is not positive, but I never presume to know one's future. Just do me one favor, if you do nothing else, over the next course of however long you find yourself here. Be sure when you are leaving Barovia, the town, I should say, that you make your way to the Tesser pools. Madame Ava must speak with you. If anything is to be of hope, or of any sort of use to you, I promise you that she will shed the most light possible.
Can my keen elf ears pick up on any of the conversations going on over here?
Sure. You hear a couple roll perception.
Okay.
You hear a couple words that stand out. You hear burial. You hear the word arena. You hear the name Ismark. You hear of some type of plan that they need, and you do hear them mention your group, Royce, and that you hear the statement, "They shouldn't be talking to those damn Visanti."
Visanti?
Correct.
You had to go there.
So who is me talking back to the
Mhm.
group that's in front of us? So who is this Madame Eva? Does she run this town? How is she connected to Barovia?
You get the feeling that this is probably one of the last nice ways she's going to put this, but she looks at you and she just smiles and she says, "I'm sorry, I truly am, that I cannot be of more assistance to you, but I promise you that as long as you see her in the next couple of days, or before you leave this area and do not wander these lands, that she will help you. I simply don't know, and it's not my place to speak on why you're here and how to possibly get out of this current situation that you're in. She is a mother to all of us, and she kind of beckons to the others that look like her. And she's very old and wise, and that's about the most I'm going to give to you. Or the most that I know, I should say.
So at this point, I'll take off the eye patch and like unravel the cloth, so
Okay.
she can see that my eyes are missing, and I'll just look at her and say, "Are we stuck here?" And kind of like point to my eye, or missing eyes.
Let me check something very quickly before I state something. Sorry.
You got a hot mic so we can hear the pages flipping.
It's usually online now. Just want to check one thing. Okay. Her voice changes quite rapidly into a language that you've never heard before. She says a couple statements back and forth between the group over the course of a couple seconds. That's very snappy, very lingering language, if you will. She then looks at you with sort of almost pity in her eyes, and she says, yes, you are stuck here, if that wasn't made clear. And I assume that you did not arrive in this place with the current wounds that you hold. But I'm telling you now, I'm not trying to make an enemy of you. It's simply not my place to speak. I would not want to give you any false hope, if you will, to the current situation that you're in. I would like to offer you some food and some wine on us today, if you would, so graciously accept it, and assure you that your best course of action overall, over the course of the next few days, is to just speak with Madame Ava.
I'll just kind of nod and put the eye patch back on.
Okay. She does kind of look up and say something. You don't really expect it. Let's say it's the other male who is yet to speak at this point, except in the language that none of you understood. And he kind of perks up with a much more flamboyantly unique accent than the other two that you notice, him having not spoken yet. And he does mention, your group does seem more unique than others we've seen, so don't let that go by the wayside. There can be hope in certain situations. As he says this, you kind of get the feeling that the others are not super happy that he said anything additionally, but he was maybe trying to cheer up or add a slight bit of hope to the overall conversation.
And I'll ask to them, did you three find yourselves here in the same manner that we did? Or are you natives of this land?
The woman that's been speaking the most to you looks at you with another smile and quite a long pause, and she goes, the morning grows long and we really must be going. Please, I will let the barkeep know that the food is on us, but I feel like at this time we may have overstayed our welcome, even though this is our own establishment. And they start to get up, if you'll allow it.
Thank you for the food and drink.
Yes, they look over and they speak out in common, food's on us for them today. And you know what, for the following day as well. No problem with this. The barkeep, still kind of fiddling with a glass to himself, looks up, seems to barely notice, and looks back down. Starts to wipe a plate with the same dirty rag that he has in his hand. Kind of head down, eyes down. He seems to have taken note of it, though. If you guys do nothing else, these three actually just kind of get up and then make their way to the back of the bar. There is some time talking back and forth between the barkeep and themselves. They open the door and they seem to sort of just kind of disappear behind it. They don't disappear, they go through the door. Sorry, that was cryptic and weird.
Liars! They had a gate
I'll
the whole time.
Walk back over to where Royce is.
Okay.
Or I'll go up to the barkeep and say, "I'll take some soup, please."
Okay. He barely looks up and starts to kind of spoon out some soup onto a bowl that he has nearby and kind of plops it on the top, and then just goes back and grabs another bowl. Starts to wipe it. Smells decent.
I'll get some soup and a glass of wine as well.
Okay. The wine smells good. Soup smells okay. Barkeep hands it over with basically no real interaction.
So we're stuck. What does that mean? How did we... What is this place?
Well, I'd assume that mist was more than just mist. Which would explain why we... Go ahead.
Sounds like we might have to speak to this Mad Mava person.
I mean, it's cryptic, but at least it's a lead.
What the other table of the three gentlemen ahead of us, what are they doing now, or like what was their reaction to our conversation?
You can talk to Royce about what he heard as he was kind of watching, but they've been sort of huddling up, pretty close to the table overall, sort of eating some soup, drinking some wine, and then talking amongst themselves, presumably trying to be not like secretive, but they're just not trying to make their conversation known to the entire tavern.
Yeah, I don't know. I heard something about a burial, an arena, and they weren't too happy that you guys were talking to, what they call it, Visanti?
Visanti.
The Visanti over there.
They said Ismark?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think Royce, you missed this. I think Ismark was the sick or dying Burgomaster.
Ismark maybe, or maybe the son.
Somehow connected, yeah.
Yes.
We should probably find out what we can from these gentlemen. Maybe they know. Maybe they're willing to offer more information than the previous three. I'll look to Toto and Royce. I think maybe you are better suited to talk, and I'll kind of point at my eyes. Missing eyes.
If there's a burial, I can inquire about it. Might be fitting.
I'll follow your lead.
I'll walk over to that table as soon as I stop hitting buttons wrong.
Okay. Are you here, Observer?
Yep.
Are you just over there still, or are you moving over? Okay.
A little worried about those guys.
Sorry, I got my bow on him.
Just walk up with the bow drawn. That's gonna... how to win friends and influence people.
Yeah.
So I'll walk over, and as I get close enough in a conversational voice, say, I couldn't help but overhearing that there was a burial planned. As a man of some religious bent, I could be of assistance if needed.
We'll say Ismark is sort of facing away from the group overall. The two that are across from him are the ones that you can initially see the faces of. As you kind of speak this out, he was probably aware of your approaching, but was finishing up a conversation as quickly as he can. It may have been cut off, it may not have been, but as he turns around, you look into the face of a pretty strong looking young man, probably in his mid 30s at the oldest. However, his eyes are red rimmed. He looks at you with kind of startling clarity, as if he's seen something maybe he's expected or something that he is almost excited about, in a way, if you had to guess the expression. As he looks, he says, forgive me, my name is Ismark. Welcome to Barovia. I assume that the mist brought you here.
Hello, Ismark. I'm Toto. Yes, we did lose our way in the mist and have found ourselves here.
Sure. He kind of like scoots over and he goes, if you would all like to take a seat, we may have a lot to discuss, and I can try and answer any questions better than the, and he kind of whispers a bit, than the Visanti may have. I do apologize for your situation, but I'm afraid that once you're in it, it can be difficult to get out of it. But please feel free to ask any questions, and I do potentially have a rather large favor to ask you once we get the basics out of the way, as I assume you're confused and, well, to be honest, just rather scared.
Well,
do all of you come over at this point? Timrak, observer.
Yeah.
Okay. I can just assume you're all around the table. Go ahead, Toto.
Well, I think all of us at least would love to know more exactly where we are.
He looks at you and he goes, well, as I stated right before, you are in Barovia, and you're not the first strangers to show up at our door. From time to time, the mist grows hungry, if you will, and those mists can take you from any land and basically transport you here. Some take their chances in the mist, but always find their way back, and some try and fight against it and have never been seen before again.
So you don't know of anyone who's just walked back out?
Well, and he kind of like knocks his head back towards like behind the bar. He goes, the Visanti there can travel through it freely. And a lot of them pay or sell a potion or a serum, if you will, that supposedly protects you from the mist itself. But he looks around the table at his fellow companions he was with before. I myself was born into the mist that you currently find yourself in, and everyone here in town that is not Visanti has known nothing other than the current nightmare that you find yourself in.
Fuck.
He kind of lets that sit in, and he goes, our people, and now you, are ruled over by a deathless tyrant, a predator, who wants not for riches or wine or blood, not for riches or for wine, but for blood. He is a vampire. He's known as the devil around here, and we do not speak his name.
Does it begin with an S?
He grimly looks over at you and kind of nods. Yes, I see you've come into contact with him in some way, shape, or form, if you don't mind me asking, considering my current circumstances. How did you meet him, or have you met him?
I haven't met him directly, but he Seems like a total douche.
He quizzically looks at the word douche. Maybe he's heard it before. But he goes, well, he is actively hunting my sister every night. And, hold on, give me 1 second. He is actively hunting my sister, Arena, who lives in town. And, he starts to tear up quite heavily at this point, and he looks down. One of the companions he's with kind of like puts an arm on his shoulder, and you can see him like squeeze it pretty tightly as he's just trying to comfort his friend, you presume here, as best he can. He pulls himself together and looks up, and he's like, I must be strong, but the attacks against my sister that the devil has continued over the past week, I'm afraid have put my father in the state of a heart attack, and he has passed in the last couple days. And he kind of looks at you grimly, and yeah, there's tears kind of welling up in his eyes. So he says, to be honest, this town is in quite the bad spot right now. And there's quite a lot to do, and quite a lot of turmoil as well at the same time. So I am sorry for your current circumstances, but I assure you that you have entered a place where people are used to your current predicament, as they've known nothing else. You might find that it hard to believe, but a taste of the outside world is something that none of us have experienced, and most of us have tried or thought of ways to escape or find a better place, but it depends on who you ask. There's a lot of different theories out there, if you will. However, what I do know is, for whatever reason, the devil himself is actively pursuing my sister to the point of sending his minions here every night. If you've not noticed, his castle perched up upon the mountain behind us. He has been unsuccessful at getting to her at this point, but has claimed my father's life by a means of a heart attack in trying to do so.
I have a few questions, if you feel up to it.
He's like, sure, I have little time to waste in my current matter, but if I can give you any sort of reassurances or hope, I assure you that I would like to do that.
The first question I have, and forgive me if it's obvious to you, but are you the son of the town's Burgomaster?
Yes, I am. I theoretically would be in charge at this point. However, the entire town, most of the town is not aware of the passing at this point. Depending on what time you came into town, I assume last night late, as I would have heard of any kind of visitors any other time. There's not a lot of movement or any kind of bustling about late, and the town would be in probably a bit of a different situation right now if it was completely known that my father has passed.
And go ahead.
No, go ahead, Toto.
Well, my condolences first. Second, your sister, you say the devil is attacking her or hunting her. It seems, if he's as powerful as you say, why hasn't he simply taken her?
He looks at you with kind of like a bashful smile, and he says, well, it's ironic that the most powerful being, if you will, of this entire land, typically when he wants something, he can take it. However, he is not without his reservations, if you will. If you didn't notice whenever you entered, no one invited you in. He kind of points to the ranger. He goes, this gentleman just walked in, and there was a comment that was made about no one's going to invite you into a home in Barovia. And that's because a vampire and their spawn simply cannot enter a building that they're not invited into. And so you'll notice that many of the walls and structures are burned or scratched or destroyed. But in terms of him simply walking into a structure at night, while it may sound a bit childish, he must be invited. So he is nightly attacking our home, and if you see it, which I presume you will at this point, it's boarded up, and I'm pretty decent with a sword. We've killed plenty of werewolves and wolves and zombies, if you will. But and he kind of looks at you, and with his tone, it kind of changes a bit, and he goes, "Yes, I've been successful so far." You kind of get the hint that there's maybe something he's hiding in that statement.
So,
An insight check.
Sure, because none of you have rolled one the entire session.
I rolled one earlier. That's a lie.
I didn't see. Was it for me or for you?
That was
'Cause I
it
didn't
was
notice
it was a public roll against the Visanti, but
Okay,
the moment kind of passed, so I didn't push it.
gotcha. If you'd like to insight, just announce it for sure, because I may not catch it in the chat log.
I mean, I will also happily roll insight at this point. Oh God! Wow! Just on fire tonight.
You want all of us to roll shatter?
I don't care who rolls. I'll take whatever insights you want.
I rolled 2 5s because I accidentally rolled disadvantage with it.
We'll go with Royce. You get the inclination that he's probably holding. Whoa. Royce and Observer get the feeling that while he's probably been truthful with most of what he's saying, he's definitely keeping some things back. It's understandable. Overall, you don't see it as like a complete negative, but someone that you've just met in an obviously fucked up area, in a fucked up situation, and he's doesn't know who you are yet. But there's something he's hiding when he states that he's been successful at this point from keeping Strahd from his sister.
So we'll ask him what makes Strahd, sorry, Mr. S want your sister?
He looks at you and he states, "Well, it depends on who you ask. We've been in this certain situation for hundreds of years. My parents, back generations upon generation, have known nothing else but the predicament that you find yourselves in currently. But some believe that we are reincarnated into this place, and that we may take on the exact same looks as others before us. Others simply think that he finds something that he cannot have and is not used to that predicament and is fixated upon it. I myself don't really care either way. I'm just trying to keep my sister out of his clutches, as very, very few people go to his castle and return either in their normal sense or at all."
So he holds power over this land?
He is this land. He looks at you and he's like, "For a lack, I would love to tell you the entire story, but as far as we know," and he kind of looks at all of you as like, "Would you like to know the general presumed history of the place you found yourself in now?"
Yes.
Yes.
A long time ago, before most of us living, there's questions on whether or not there are some that still exist here whenever, and he uses the name, whenever Strahd, he whispers it, first arrived. He was a conqueror of this land, and he did so with a savage consistency and a savage efficiency. He took over the entire area, the entire valley that you find yourself in, and he ruled over it. However, his family was in a distant land outside, or in his initial birthplace. And at some point, he wanted to impress his family and basically show off the conquering that he had done. And so he built himself the castle that you see perched upon the mountain behind us. And he made it as elaborate and as grand as possible. His family did come, and he was in love with a woman of the land at the time. Whenever his family visited, his brother came with him, and there was a lover's quarrel, if you will. And this one is where it gets a bit foggy. Some think that his Strahd's, he whispers, lover fell for his brother, or if he did something to invoke that. But long story short, the devil's, I guess, perceived madness or perceived jealousy of his love and his brother basically forced him into murdering his brother. In doing so, his love threw herself off of the castle cliffs, and all of the guards in his own castle attacked him. In so doing that, they mortally wounded him as he was escaping, and they had seen that he had gone crazy with bloodlust over the presumed affair that was going on, which who knows at this point. And in escaping, he was mortally wounded to the point to where the Visanti, who had inhabited this area before Strahd came, aided him, and for that reason are forever in his favor. When he should have died, it is assumed that some type of evil deity or presence or being or creature basically did not allow him to die and turned him into a vampire instead, but trapped him here in the bargain for his life. So it fluctuates quite rapidly or quite extensively depending on who you ask, but effectively he is trapped here like the rest of us. However, he controls numerous bats, ravens, wolves, werewolves, zombies, and any other numerous things in this valley. There are plenty of people that are rising up against him and do so every decade or so, and there are plenty that would love to see him stay in control because they profit from it, or they believe him to be the true god of this area. The real losers are all of us, and he kind of points to the four of you, but also to his brethren that he's been with. We have to sit here and be pawns in a game of a cursed vampire that cannot leave the jail cell that he is stuck in. However, he has all of us to play with, and occasionally, when he's bored of all of us, he draws in people like you.
Have you ever tried to talk to the Visanti to seek their help in leaving?
Well, as you see, we have a working relationship with the Visanti. You'll be hard-pressed to find a Barovian that admires the Visanti unless they're simply trying to get something out of them. They are our traders. They allow for goods that exist outside of this area to come into Barovia. However, any kind of trade goes through them initially at some point because no one else can leave, including Strahd himself, and he whispers that name. But no, I assume that hundreds, if not more, have purchased their so-called mist potions that allow them to walk through it, but I don't know anybody myself that has ever done it, and as far as we can tell, it's the bloodline of the Visanti that keeps them safe from the fog or from the mist, not if they're if they're not them being accompanied by a Visanti. I'm getting a work call. I'm going to take it real quick. Give me 1 second. All right, I'm back.
Welcome back. Sorry, the Visanti that were at the table, the one woman and two men, were they human?
They're Visanti. They're humanoid, but They're a human variant, if you will.
How do you spell Visanti?
Vistani.
Vistani.
Yes.
So they're humanoid variant. Okay.
Ismark kind of looks around the table. He's like, anyone else have any questions? Maybe I could alleviate some
I think
frustrations or...
So the Visanti, whatever, they recommended that we go and speak to a Madame Eva, or excuse me, a Madame Eva.
Ah, yes. I won't say you shouldn't, but rumor has it that she is typically where people that find themselves here gain some direction, if you will. As to what she can see or not see, I tend to not find myself wondering much, as I know what my life leads to, and I was born into that fate. So, do with that what you will.
Are there any legends or rumors about how this spell or whatever it is can be ended?
Oh well, there's endless rumors and everything else. It's many believe that if Strahd, and he whispers it, is killed, that it may end. Some say that he was killed hundreds of years ago and he just came back. Some say that he's looking for someone to take his place, and that's why he invites all of you here. Some think that if he finds the woman that he's after, I guess right now it's my sister alone, or maybe he's doing this to others around the world as we know it as well, who knows, that he will be happy and content, and that the mist will disappear. Some claim that the mist did disappear for a period of time and then came back, and others could leave freely. But then they found their friends that did leave, found themselves right back here again. So I don't rightly know. What I do know is that militias are riled up, young men and women are riled up and armed. Sometimes they storm the castle, most of the times they don't come back. There are others, again, that enjoy him in power, and they do their best to keep him there. And most of us are in the opposite side of things, but simply don't have the means, I guess, if you will, to put the time or money or effort into an endeavor that will cost usually us our lives and our loved ones' lives and everything else. If you have nothing else to live for, you may find yourself in a different situation. But, no matter what situation you're in, we still have our families and we still have our jobs and things that we try and keep. In some parts of Valaki, the major neighboring city, you can find some feelings of normalcy, but the politics there and in other places as well always come down to the devil himself and what he wants. If he wanted to murder everybody here and just kill us all, he could, but I think honestly that he would be lonely and would have little fun in that. In the end, he'd rather have subjects, if you will, that he can torture and take advantage of and watch them squirm as they die.
Sorry, what was the name of the neighboring city?
Valaki.
Well, on our initial introduction to this land, we found quite a disturbing household and some notes from Strahd. Do you know anything of the Durst family?
He looks at you. He goes, I've lived in this land for a very long time. It doesn't ring a bell. I'm sorry. Did you find yourself in that household?
Yeah. I'll pull out this letter.
Okay.
That we have. It's I'll drag it on if you're watching my stream chat.
Let me look again.
It's called Handout Strahd's Letter. I'll read out loud for everyone. My most pathetic servant, I am not a messiah sent to you by the dark powers of this land. I have not come to lead you on a path to immortality. However many souls you have bled on your hidden altar, however many visitors you have tortured in your dungeon, know that you are not the ones who brought me to this beautiful land. You are but worms writhing in my land. You say that you are cursed, your fortune spent. You abandoned love for madness, took solace in the bosom of another woman, and sired a stillborn son. Cursed by darkness? Of that I have no doubt. Save you from your wretchedness? I think not. I prefer you as you are. I much prefer you as you are. Your dread lord and master, Strahd von Zarovich.
He goes, well, that sounds accurate enough to the devil that I know. However, it seems as though he's talking of a much different time. I've never heard of that family, and it seems as though their demise has already come or is still lingering, depending on the situation you found yourself in.
So, we've asked you a lot of questions. Is there anything you would ask of us?
He looks up and kind of changes his gaze over. He goes, well, you're quite unique to the visitors we have, at least so far. I appreciate your concern for the place you found yourself in and the people herein. As he starts to speak, the door in the back opens up. Two of the Visanti, both of them men, they sort of find themselves back at the table that they initially were at when they do close the door behind them. Ismark notices, kind of looks back over, and just continues talking normally as far as you can tell. The soup bowls, I presume, are mostly empty at this point as well. The barkeep makes his way over during this conversation, picks those up, and kind of grumbles a little bit if there's more wine wanted. Does anybody want additional wine?
No, but I'll take a soup. I didn't have one before.
Okay. He'll bring over a soup, and then he'll refill the three locals' drinks as well. They put some silver down, or some coppers down for him whenever it's brought over, and he takes that with him. He goes, well, there is a task that you could help me with. I'm currently in a situation, as you know, where my father is dead. He does whisper that. And my sister needs to be taken away from this place. However, I cannot easily leave or do much of anything without the prying eyes of this entire town watching me. My father has not been seen in days, as he's passed days ago, and I fear that once it is known that he is gone, an uprising/chaos will ensue. The church is already sort of in an odd situation now. If you heard the woman crying last night when you came in, she's a whole nother story herself. We have the issue of the or he just says, you heard the woman, and the church is already a mess as well. He's like, my biggest predicament right now is an actual burial for my father, which I refuse to, not let our heritage be continued, even under the devil's watch. He goes, well, it may sound odd to outsiders, or maybe it's specific, or maybe you also have similar customs. We tend to bury our dead on the third day once they've passed, and there's a sort of ritual, if you will, that involves the body being sort of taken at dawn or at midnight, and then physically taken to the burial site, and then while it's there, there's a sort of remembrance and a ritual done over the course of the night. And I fear that if people find out, that may be a good time for either locals or possibly for the devil himself to attack again, as my sister insists on being there for his final rest. So the final rest takes place at dawn, as the body is lowered into the ground at sunset, and I intend to do that. The problem I have now is, days ago I ordered a new an accurately made coffin for my father. However, it has not shown up, and I fear that the recluse of a carpenter that this town seems to have has found himself in a bad situation, or is currently held up doing God knows what else. And to be honest, I can't spare the guards. And he kind of looks over at the two he's next to. You now get the view that they're actually guardsmen. They don't look like anything special, but that shouldn't really be too surprising. But they've also come off as being his like close friends and acquaintances as well. So he goes, I can't really spare the guards, if you will, because I fear that, again, any kind of official business that seems askew might tip the pot in the mob's direction, if you will. So if you guys were able to go and visit the carpenter and check on the coffin, I think that would be the easiest thing to do. It just needs to be done today, as we must start the ceremony tonight. At the very least, if we must make the trip, I can do it later tonight, but it just might throw off everything else, and I have more preparations to make as I need to get my sister out of town. I won't lie to you. I was praying very, very long and hard over the last couple days for someone to show up, or some chance, encounter to happen to where I would have a glimmer of hope, and I fear, but also believe that maybe that hope is you.
As much as we would like to help out, I think we have quite a lot to figure out ourselves. But potentially something could help sway us.
He looks at you and he understands kind of where you're going. He's like, well, I can supply you with some things that may make your journey to the carpenter easier, and also your journey going forward. I assume that my, knowledge of your current predicament would be helpful as well. However, I can offer you some deeds to some homes locally if you needed those long term, and I also have a fair bit of gold saved up, as you can imagine, if you're looking for money to sway you to do the difficult, but I assume righteous task as well.
I'm happy to help, but if anyone else needs any considerations, I leave it to the rest of you.
I think being able to have some sort of domicile while we're here would definitely help, and certainly gold to help fund this, along with wherever other quests we might partake on, would help as well.
Yeah, Ismark looks up and he speaks with a different tone a bit. He's like, I'm not going to lie to you. I hope that you realize that I haven't this entire time. Very little of your time here will be joyful. My plan overall is to get my sister, and he's kind of whispering this a bit now, out of this town and to Valaki, or to some other safer town, if you will. I fear that I don't believe that I can make that journey, because the second that I am missing and my father is confirmed dead, that it will trigger a series of events that will just involve us getting run down and killed on the road by either the devil himself or any others that may have ill content towards my father and our name. So, that being said, my sister is not going to kindly take to the suggestion that I have and the plan that I have, but I fear that if she does want to see our father laid to rest, and if she does want to live more than the next couple of days, that getting her out of here is the best course of action. That being said as well, there's little of any use here for newly found captives, I guess, if you will, to this place. And so heading west and north will pass you by the so-called Tesser pools that the Visanti have encouraged you to visit, and is also on its way to a much larger much more inhabited city of Balaki that will provide my sister with some safety and would most likely provide any of you with furthering, your life or your goals of whatever you intend to do here for the rest of your stay, if you will.
So you, to be clear, you want your sister gone before the burial?
No, she needs to see the burial tomorrow morning at dawn, and then she must leave after that. She would like to be a part of the entire process, but I don't trust her outside of a home after dark, as God knows what Strahd, and he whispers at this time, will send on this night, knowing that our family has been weakened even more. And as you can never trust a vampire, especially one as keen as Strahd, who knows what spies or lies or devious plans he has up his sleeve to continue to torment the town that is directly below his castle itself. So he goes, my number one goal is to try and keep my father's name as positive as possible, and if this town can still stay together in some way, shape, or form, I will do my best to do that. And while I would love to just escape with my sister and survive on the road, hiding wherever we can or finding a life elsewhere, I know that that is simply not possible with the name and the face that I hold and the background that my father and the background I have being of my father's kin. So I have little choice but to try, and what I was going to do is send my sister with some guards, leaving me even more short-handed and less likely to succeed. But now it seems as though the five of you might be on similar paths, if you will. So we need to get the coffin today, if possible, or today, or it's not possible, or we will make our own out of some makeshift wood that we have lying around, although it will pain my soul until my dying day, knowing that my father was not buried as appropriate as possible. And then once the coffin is acquired, we need to set in place the burial processions tonight, which I will conclude, and my sister will just need to be sort of in the home waiting for dawn, and then hopefully be escorted to the burial site at that point where my father can be laid to rest, and then she needs to be essentially snuck out of town, assuming everything doesn't go to shit.
What can be found in this neighboring city of Valkai?
Valaki has many and numerous. It is probably 5 to 6 times the size of the town you currently find yourself in. It is well guarded. It has a wall all the way around it, and it is mostly self-sufficient. The leadership, if you will, is questionable, and the politics involved there are much deeper rooted than the ones here, as it's just my family name here. However, if you want a simple, normal life, Valaki is most likely the best place to find it. Other towns, there is the town of Breeze, which, as far as I know, has been abandoned or overrun by Strahd within the last couple of years. I have no idea, except for rumors, who lives there. And the safest town that I've never visited before, but I presume is... I just assume everything is bad unless I've confirmed it with my eyes recently. But the safest supposed town in all Barovia is a town called Kreese. However, that is one of the furthest points from where you currently stand now. If you get the chance to go there, I would suggest you do so, but just realize that they don't take kindly to outsiders usually, and no one really knows how they function so far on the edge of the devil's control, if you will.
We could talk to this coffin maker. I think we also found a rather nice coffin yesterday afternoon.
Ismark looks up at you quizzically, like you found a nice coffin.
Outside the Durst house.
Ah, just laying there.
Yes, it was placed in the middle of the road after we exited the house.
Ah, yes, I see where this is going. While I appreciate the thought, I assume any coffin left by the devil himself, I would not feel comfortable burying my father in. That seems a bit too easy, to have, given the man up to the devil himself. And the reason I had the coffin specifically made is that there's a certain family / religious symbol that I hope to have engraved by a professional, if you will, on the front of it to assure the protection of my father's body and his soul, as he rests peacefully. Ismark kind of looks up now. He's I know there's a lot of information. He realizes that, but he's like, well, if this is the first place you visited, there is a general store, if you will, across the street from here, just to the south, but don't expect any phenomenal prices there. And, well, I don't, just be careful of the uncle's, oh my god, nephew, if you will. He's, he's as dumb and as strong as he looks, and while I feel kind of bad saying that, it's just the truth. And other than that, there's not much else to involve yourself, Will, in this lovely town that I've now found myself the de facto leader of.
We appreciate the information. I'm sure we can go check on the carpenter and we can discuss details of escorting your sister.
Yes, if you are to make that journey, I wish to know now, as I would need to change my plans for the day quite dramatically if you couldn't. So can I count on you to head out in the next hour or so, or what is it that you needed to do so? Anything that you'd had in mind for the day?
Is he? Sorry, are you asking us, Shatner, to go to the carpenter or escort the sister?
The carpenter.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think we could look into that fairly quickly. As someone who comes from a mercenary background, I never do any job for free, so I expect we'll be fairly compensated.
Yes, yes, of course. I don't know. Do you have a running price that you need?
I have no idea how gold works in this game. 6,000 gold.
Whoa!
No,
Like one of those Dr. Evil moments, just like $1 million, and they're like, ha 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 ha. He's like, what? It's not that much money anymore. Let me see here. I think it was written somewhere that there was gold involved. Hold on 1 second. He says it's about a half-hour's walk away. And where is the gold amount? Oh, my page just got all out of order. God damn it. Sorry, guys.
Shouldn't cut the book up, man.
I know. So he says, yes, of course. I would offer 50 gold and deeds to at the nicest abandoned homes in town. While that may sound like a bit of a joke, an abandoned home deed becomes a home and then is really more protection than gold could ever offer in a place like this. And the whole concept of being uninvited then kind of sets in a bit for those that have never heard of that lore or possible vampire downside, if you will.
Dude, if somebody offered me a deed to a home, yeah.
Right.
Sorry.
So you guys fine with that?
I'm good, but my brain is also shutting down.
Yeah. Are you guys good to? You guys want to call it here and take some notes for heading off to the carpenter for next session?
Sounds good.
Sounds good. Cool. Damn, you guys didn't fight anything all day.
It was like
We're
all
all-
role playing. What the hell?
I know. Now you know why I had to prepare so much. This fucking town and this everything else is
I got 3 pages of notes and I stopped writing after a while.
right. That's why I'm like, I literally prepped like probably 6 hours total for just part 1 of this. So I hope I wasn't too vague. I don't think I fucking shotgunned myself with any horrible misconceptions that I may have planted. But yeah, I think that went really well overall. Any questions that are fresh at this point?
Strahd's an aboleth?
I don't think so.
Oh,
What's
an
his
apple?
werewolf?
that's it. Aboleths are another big bad monster.
He is a vampire, but he is effectively a lord over a domain, which may supersede any other technical character constraints, if you will. So
I was joking. It's okay.
Oh, okay. I never joke.
So he's a beholder. Okay, I got it.
Yeah. He's a demigorgon.
I mean, that's the
crossover that I want. Just because Magic the Gathering got a fucking Stranger Things crossover before they gave it to Lord of the Rings or Warhammer or.
Don't worry, it's all gonna be in Fortnite next week. So.
Yeah, it's so true.
Well, thanks, man. I'm gonna go
So true.
pass out, but thank you.
Yeah,
all.
good night, man. Thank you.
Have a good night.
See you, buddy.